would just say this is a 100-year catastrophe, and it's just so horrible to watch.
Are you planning to visit Texas, Mr. President?
Probably on Friday. We wanted to leave a little time. I would have done it today, but we'd just be in their way. Probably Friday.
Republican long ignored warning that Trump's reckless cuts would cost lives. Now in Texas, that nightmare is real. People are dying because of his failure. Confronted today, Trump showed zero care or solution action today, acting totally indifferent. It was shocking, heartless moment you need to watch. But before, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you have not already and enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way to support our work and independent media. Now watch this clip right here.
Say it.
Why not help Ukraine the same way you helped Israel?
I am helping Ukraine. I'm helping it a lot, and it's a war that should have never happened. It's a war that should have never started. If I were president, if the election weren't rigged, and it was rigged so badly, and that's come out. Read Miranda Devine in the New York Post today. The election was totally rigged, and if it weren't rigged, you wouldn't have a war with Russia right now, and you wouldn't have had inflation, and you wouldn't have had the horrible Afghanistan the way they left. Not that they left. We would have been out before them, but the way they left, I think the most embarrassing day in the history of our country. You wouldn't have had the October horror show with Israel and Hamas. You wouldn't have had any of it. You wouldn't have had the recent showdown with Iran. You wouldn't have had any of it. And you wouldn't have had inflation.
So you said you had a...
You would think after another humiliating call with Putin and Ukrainians suffering brutal sidrai, Trump might act differently. But no, he plunges weapon, blame Biden for the war, and shows zero real concern. It's more petty politics as usual from Trump, which continue when he was asked about Elon Musk's new tweet party and then text us. Now why this clip right here?
Starting a third party.
I think it's ridiculous to start a third party. We have a tremendous success with the Republican Party. The Democrats have lost their way, but it's always been a two-party system. And I think starting a third party just adds to confusion. It really seems to have been developed for two parties. Third parties have never worked. So he can have fun with it, but I think it's ridiculous.
What's your feedback?
Trump melded with Elaine proves again his focus is always on himself. Even as our lives are lost, he delayed responses, ignored death, and showed zero care when asked about FEMA and weather cuts, exposing how distressful this presidency truly is. Watch it all unfold right here.
Are you investigating whether some of the cuts to the federal government left key vacancies at the National Weather Service or in the emergency coordination?
No,
They did not.
no, they did. I'll tell you, if you look at that, what a situation that all is. And that was really the Biden setup. That was not our setup. But I wouldn't blame Biden for it either. I would just say this is a 100-year catastrophe, and it's just so horrible to watch.
Are you planning to visit?
Trump casually ignored the deadly weather cuts he and Dodge caused, refused to commit to FEMA or rehiring expires and called it not political while people die. His cold indifference showed he cared only for power, not lives, and when asked about his damaging trade war, his absurd answer proved it all right here.
Mr. President, do the tariff rates change at all on July 9th, or do they change on August 1st?
What are you talking about?
Tariff rates, do they change on July 9th or August 1st?
They're going to be tariffs. The tariffs are going to be the tariffs. I think we'll have most countries done by July 9th, yeah. Either a letter or a deal.
But they go into effect on August 1st. The tariffs go into effect August 1st, but the president is setting the rates and the deals right now.
The heart of the deal for Trump really means camming and endlessly extending deadlines because he cannot actually make deal. His tariff war has not helped anyone, expand his rich friend, and fueled a PR stunt to fool the middle class. Meanwhile, incited profit, and Trump bragged about it. During Robert Hertz reverse, Governor Andy Beshear called it out powerful right here.
Absolutely. Governor, I do want to turn to the giant bill President Trump signed into law, what it would mean for Kentucky. 1 in 4 Kentuckians are on Medicaid, 1 in 10 on food stamps. How many will lose their benefits because of this law? And what, as governor, can you do to help?
Well, this law is devastating. It's the single worst piece of legislation I've seen in my lifetime, and it is a congressional Republican and presidential attack on rural America. In my state alone, 200,000 people are going to lose their coverage. Those are 200,000 Kentuckians that deserve to see a doctor when they're sick. 20,000 healthcare workers are going to lose their jobs. And we've got up to 35 rural hospitals that are typically the second biggest employer in their communities that may close their doors. And what that means is our economy takes a huge hit. And then whether you have private insurance or Medicaid, if you live in rural America, you have to drive hours just to see the doctor that used to be in your community. It is awful. And that is before we even talk about the cuts to SNAP, which means that seniors and children will go hungry at night and wake up hungry in the morning. I cannot believe that Congress was willing to pass this. I mean, it's awful.
They did add about $50 billion for rural hospitals. You don't think that's going to help?
No, based on the massive cuts that are here, based on the fact that a rural hospital may have 40% or 50% of their revenue coming from Medicaid, this will not help to keep those doors open. And so what you're going to first see are rural hospitals cutting specialties. You may have to drive several hours just to give birth in many parts of this country. And just think about how the economic hit to these communities go. You lose 200 jobs from doctors and nurses and orderlies, and all of a sudden the coffee shop does worse. The bank doesn't have as many folks coming in. I mean, this is going to hit rural America right in the face.
This bill is a total disaster, taking from working people to enrich the ultra-wealthy and Gantt Corporation. Meta alone gets billions in back taxes break for nothing. Meanwhile, Republicans ignore starving constituents and dream of hobnobbing with billionaire and tetchy parties. Public service should be about helping Americans, not billionaires' hobbies, and Ron is calling them out for that right here.
Advisors, they're aligned with the president, of course. So here's what they predicted if the bill had not passed. They said economic growth would have slowed. It would have reduced the GDP by 4%. It would have cost 6.1 million full-time equivalent jobs, and federal revenues would have been reduced by roughly 6%. So acknowledgement that any of those risk predictions could have come true.
Well, the reality is this adds $3.8 trillion to the national debt. A lot of the tax breaks are for the wealthiest Americans. We know from 2017, when they tried these tax cuts for wealthy Americans, that people put that money in stock buybacks. They did not increase business investment. His same advisors made all these statements that was going to have economic growth. It didn't do that. If you really wanted economic growth, you would be focused on working families, middle-class families. Instead, they've given 60% of the tax breaks to the richest Americans, and they're hurting working-class Americans, and they're making them poorer, and that's the Congressional Budget Office.
Well, by IRS data, though, the 2017 cuts, which were just extended, they did benefit every bracket of taxpayer, and by their assessment, it was middle and lower income taxpayers who actually benefited more as a percentage of their income.
China, that's an excellent point of why this bill is so much worse. In 2017, there was disproportionate benefits for the wealthy, but you're right. Everyone got some break. Now, 40% of Americans, if you're working class or middle class, you're actually going to be worse off because you're going to lose health care, you're going to lose food assistance, and the small tax cut isn't going to make up for that. So if you're in the top 50% of Americans, fine. But if you're in the middle class and working class, this bill is actually going to make you worse off. And that's why it's such a cruel policy. By the way, it's a tax increase on everyone's health care. They're taking away the Affordable Care Act subsidies. Premiums in this country for those on the exchange are going to go up 75 to 100%.
This bill is a tragedy that will cause economic pain for decades if we do not fight back and stop it when Democrats retake power. We cannot just go back to pre-Trump. We need a bold new economic vision to tackle rapid inequality threatening our country. We will keep talking about her. Thanks for watching this video. And if you stuck around at 10, you can drop the blue light in the comments. And until next time, I will see you soon.